We welcome in our NBA insider, Chris Broussard, who has been all over the story from the get-go. So, Chris, let's start out talking about the Washington Wizards deal. Gilbert Arenas straight up for Rashard Lewis. Explain both sides' thinking here.
Well, for Washington, it's a good deal. I mean, remember, a lot of people for months have been talking about how it's going to be impossible to trade Gilbert Arenas. So they've done that. So give them props for that. But it works out. I mean, you get Rashard Lewis. He's a guy that obviously can shoot the three-pointer. He can spread the floor. So I think he fits perfectly with John Wall because he spreads the floor, opens up the lanes for penetration, and then when defenses collapse on Wall, he can finish with a three-pointer as a drive and kick guy. So it works there. And then financially, while Arenas has 3 years, $60 million left after this season, Rashard only has 2 years at 40-something million, about $45 million left. But his last year, only about $10 million of that is guaranteed. So potentially, you're looking at close to about $30 million savings if they give a buyout to Rashard Lewis 2 years from now. So financially, it was a good move as well. And look, this ends all the questions in Washington that they deal with wherever they go. And whose team is it? How is Gilbert handling playing the second fiddle to the rookie John Wall? So now it's clearly John Wall's team, and there are no more questions about it. From Orlando's standpoint, remember, this team has lost 5 of their last 6 games, and they knew they weren't going to be able to beat Miami and Boston as they were. So they made the deal. They bring in the Gilbert Arenas. And, Arenas has played okay. I think, he's averaging 17 points, about 6 assists, which isn't bad. He's only shooting 39%. But I think you have to give him a little slack because he's not really playing his role. I assume Orlando's going to give him the ball now and let him be the old agent zero, and I think you'll see an uptick in the way he plays. So if he can stay healthy, he's still only 28 years old. Maybe this can be the move that gets Orlando back to the level with the Heat and the Celtics.
All right, and the other deal to the Phoenix Suns, Vince Carter, Mickael Pietrus, Marcin Gortat, and a first-rounder plus cash to the Suns for their leading scorer, Jason Richardson, and Hedo Turkoglu. How would you break down that from both sides?
Interesting. I mean, obviously, you're bringing back Hedo, who the fans will love it, but the question is he the same player he was 2 years ago when he really played well in helping the Magic get to the finals? He hasn't been the same in Toronto or in Phoenix. And quite honestly, the Magic haven't been the same without him. They missed his playmaking abilities. So we'll see if he can be rejuvenated. Remember, he had his best seasons in Orlando in Stan Van Gundy's system. So we'll see if that works. Jason Richardson having a great year, shooting the best he ever has, 42% from three-point range. So, again, you've got a legitimate shooter spreading the floor who still has some athleticism and can get to the cup on occasion. The question is defensively, what is Orlando going to be like? Now, perimeter-wise, they weren't very good defensively as they were, and I don't see much improvement there. Gilbert, Hedo, Jay Rich, these aren't guys that defend, so that'll be interesting.
Yeah, not a stopper among them. Before we let you go, what does this all mean for Steve Nash, who had a chance to leave in free agency a little bit ago, didn't do it? What does it mean for Nash?
Well, I'll say this. I like the deal for Phoenix because you get Marcin Gortat. Everyone is excited to see what he can do in starters minutes because, he's a nice quality big man. And then you get, Pietrus gives you a little attitude. And Vince Carter, I mean, his contract, is not guaranteed for next season. So that could be a financial deal, and we'll see what he does next to Nash. As far as Steve, right now there's no talks going on with Phoenix in terms of trading Steve Nash. He's an icon there, and they're not going to, keeping Steve Nash keeps people coming to that arena. I think they want to give this new group a chance, see what it looks like, and before they would even think about moving Steve Nash. From his standpoint, Steve likes Phoenix. As you said 2 years ago, he could have walked away as a free agent. He chose not to, even though they didn't look like they were a contending team, and the writing was on the wall that Stoudemire was probably going to be moving on. So I think Steve is content right there right now. We'll see how he feels, weeks from now if this crew doesn't put something together and start playing better basketball. But right now, nothing's imminent with Steve Nash in terms of trade.